Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam, and in today's video I wanted to share all of the book series that I'm currently in the middle of. Compared to some other booktubers that I watch and are friends with, I'm really not in the middle of very many. But for me, I'm in the middle of quite a few. Until around a year ago, I was the type of person who would read a series start to finish without any books in between and wouldn't start another series until it was finished. And then I started doing my buddy reads with Emily, and that really kind of opened me up to reading multiple series at the same time and switching between genres, series, and sort of chopping up the series and reading them over a longer period of time. So I'm currently in the middle of 12 series, but I am hoping to wrap some of them up soon. I'm also the type of person who does not like to DNF series. There have been a couple of books that were really awful and I really wanted to just stop reading them, but there's a bigger part of me still that is so curious to find out about what happens at the end, because there was a book series, a duology. I actually had these books, which my mom picked up and started reading first, and she couldn't get through the first one because she said it was so awful. And I had this determination that I was going to finish it. I was fairly young at the time. I was probably 12 or 13, and I had this drive and commitment that I was going to finish that series. And I ended up getting through the book and really enjoying it by the end. So because there was this book that was really difficult to get into and my mom said that it was terrible, and I ended up really enjoying it by the end, I kind of have this reservation and desire to finish all of the books that I am interested in reading or have started reading, because I want to see it through. I want to be able to give my full opinion of it and have a full idea of what the book is, because a lot of the times the ending can get good. There are other times where it's just bad all the way through. But I know that there's definitely a lot of people and a lot of opinions that say life's too short to waste time on a bad book, but I'm not at the point where I can just DNF left and right. So there are a couple series in my stack that I'm not fully enjoying, but I am going to see them through, so I can get the full picture and I can give my full opinion and have full reasons as to why I don't like a series. So the first series that I'm in the middle of is the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. This is a series that I have been getting out from the library, so this is why I only have the third book. This is not my favorite series. Basically, it's about a girl who is in high school and finds herself continually in the middle of missing persons cases, and she is trying to figure out what happened and who the culprit is. I do really like mysteries. This is also a YA, which is kind of fun, but the main character, there's just something about her that I just don't get along with her. I find her really annoying, and I don't understand how, like, she just this, like, 17-year-old girl people are just telling all of this information to. But it is fun, and I like finding out who the villain is in the end. So I have book 3, and then I have the novella Killjoy left to read, and then that's it. I also have Killjoy on hold at the library. I'm just waiting for my turn, so I'm hopefully going to be finishing the series this month. Okay, I just noticed the little light filters coming in on my face. I really hope it hasn't been annoying and distracting, but I'm going to try and stay back here for the remainder of the video, and hopefully they don't drive me crazy while I'm editing this, and I hope it doesn't drive you crazy while you're watching this. So the next series is another series that I have been taking out from the library, and that is the Hawthorne Legacy series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is another series that for me just doesn't live up to the hype. I feel like as I'm reading it, nothing's really happening. It's fine. It's a fun time to get the clues and try to figure out what's going on. Basically the premise of this series, if you've never heard about it, Basically, it's about this teenage girl who inherits a ton of money by this rich old guy who recently passes away that she has never met before and has no relation to. The family of the man who passes away is very into mysteries and scavenger hunt-esque adventures, I guess. So the main character and the three grandsons are trying to figure out why she might have inherited this money and all of the family secrets. So it's definitely interesting with the reveals and the scavenger hunt-esque feel to it, but I personally, for me, don't think that there's enough happening for it to warrant the hype that it gets. I just have the last book remaining in this series, which is The Final Gambit, although I think there's another fourth book coming out that sort of relates to the series. I haven't decided if I'm going to read that or not yet, but if it has direct ties to the main series, then I probably will. So for me, this is a decent YA series, but not one that I think about all the time or will go back to over and over. So the next series that I am in the middle of isn't really a series, it's really a duology, but it's the It Ends With Us duology by Colleen Hoover. I really just added this to my list so I remember that I still need to read the second one in a fairly timely manner. Again, the second book is on my May TBR, so I should finish this duology this month as well. Again, this one wasn't my absolute favorite. It's a really hard story, but I feel like there wasn't enough character development for the main character. I think just with all the hype that this book got, I just went in, I think, with too high expectations. Like I said, over and over again, I like going into my books knowing next to nothing because I find that it makes the experience more enjoyable. If you go in expecting things or knowing that things are going to happen, you're kind of just waiting, and that's what happened to me. There are plot points in the story that I wasn't expecting, but it just didn't make sense for me. It just felt weird. So I'm going to finish it. It'll be a quick read for me because Colleen Hoover books take like 2 seconds. The next series I'm in the middle of is the Temperance Brennan series by Kathy Reichs. This is the book series which inspired the show Bones, which I talked about in my 5-star reads video. Bones is one of my absolute favorite TV shows. I've watched it over and over again. The TV series and book series is definitely very different. There is the overarching plot that Temperance Brennan is a forensic anthropologist and works for a government institution. Her backstory in the TV show and book series is definitely different, so if you're a fan of Bones, don't expect this to be the exact same plot line, but it does follow the same vibes. Each book is a different murder case using forensic anthropology and some science, and it's just a lot of fun. I definitely need to continue on this series and honestly just want to go back and read this one again. It's just so good. And this series actually mostly takes place in Quebec because she's working for the Quebec Bureau, I guess. So yeah, a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend this series. It's very long and there's definitely an overarching plot line and plot themes, but each one is sort of like a standalone. Like I said, each book follows a different murder case. There are returning characters and returning plot points throughout each of the books. But a lot of fun, like 20-book series, so I'll slowly work through them. The next book series I'm in the middle of is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Again, this is another book that I pulled out from the library. I don't think my library has all of the books in this series so far, so it's part of the reason why I haven't continued the series yet, but I do want to finish it because I know that a lot of people really enjoy this series. I did not get that. A lot of people say that it's incredibly spicy. I also didn't get that, so I don't know if it's something that I'm gonna have to reread because maybe I missed something. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, but sort of modernized. The same names are used, and it also involves like other gods and myth, but it takes place in a current modern day setting in Greece. I just found it a little, I liked the modernization. I'm a big fan of myth. I took a lot of classics courses in university, but again, the main character just felt very juvenile, very young, and it just didn't vibe with me. This is probably the only series that I might not continue, but if I can get my hands on the rest of the books without having to purchase them, then I probably will continue it. But this is kind of the only toss-up. The next book series that I'm in the middle of is Cupidity by Raven Kennedy. This is a book series that I am reading on Kindle Unlimited. This is a book series that I think I was under the impression that it was a novella series, but it's definitely not. The first book is pretty short, but the subsequent books are around or over 300 pages. And it follows Amel, who is a Cupid, follows her daily, I guess, work of being a Cupid, spreading love and desire throughout different kingdoms until she finds herself corporeal. It's also well, the first book is a slow burn. The whole book series is a why choose, sort of gradually increasing in slow burn to like more of a medium burn. I read the first two books in this series, and I found the first book was a little bit slow, and the main character definitely feels juvenile. There's just something about these main characters that I just don't vibe with, apparently. But definitely reading the second book, I was a lot more into it, and it definitely gets a lot more spicy. So it's a lot of fun, fantasy, romance, adventure-y. It's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to finish the series and then move on to the Plated Prisoner series, also by Raven Kennedy, because I've heard a lot of good things about that. The next series that I'm in the middle of is called The Next Series by Hannah Bonan Young. I don't know if this is a series so much as a collection of standalone books. I'm not sure if the subsequent books follow friends in the same community as the first book did, or if they're entirely standalones. I do have the second book on my TBR for May. The first book is about a girl who is trying to gain custody of her sister and is put into this program with another individual who is also trying to gain custody of their sibling. It's just a really cute, feel-good romance. The conflict makes sense. There's no unnecessary third act breakup, good communication, just a good, fun, wholehearted, wholesome romance. Highly recommend. Okay, I'm sorry if anything looks different. I just had to go grab an SD card because I ran out of space. The next series that I'm in the middle of is the Sacred Stone series by Kate Golden. The first book is The Dawn of Onyx. The first one was a buddy read with my friend Emily, which as per usual I'll have her linked down below. This was not our favorites. We saw numerous reviews giving this book 5 stars, and it just really fell flat for the both of us. It's about this girl who is trying to protect her family. She gives herself up to the Onyx ruler, who is deemed to be a bad guy, essentially, and kind of follows her journey and struggles in the realm, the kingdom. I think a lot of the issues with this book was the length. Everything kind of happened very quickly. Beginning setup was good, and then she kind of got to the kingdom, and then the story kind of took off, and the romance kind of came out of left field. Like, you knew it was coming, but it kind of just like flipped a switch and there it was. And there wasn't much interaction, just this all kind of happened out of nowhere. But again, I will probably continue it because maybe it was just a bad setup. The next series that I'm in the middle of is the Crescent City series by Sarah J Maas. We somewhat recently got a release date for the third book, which is coming out in the end of January, which is just too long. I really don't know how to explain this series. This was definitely my least favorite out of the Sarah J Maas books I had read, which at the time I read this was only A Court of Thorns and Roses. We're in the middle of Throne of Glass right now, which I'll talk about in a second, and it's great. I really love the characters. I really love Sarah J Maas's storytelling. I think it's just urban fantasy just isn't my cup of tea. It just feels like there's no rules in this world and anything goes. There was a lot of world building, but at the same time it seemed like nothing was happening in the beginning of this book in particular, so it was very hard to get into the series and learn about the world and put together what the plot was supposed to be and what was happening. But it feels very much like a fantasy book combined with like a cop show sort of thing. They're trying to investigate these murders that keep happening and who is behind it, along with this overbearing, like, high fae power over this fae world. And if you read this series, you know that the second book ended on quite the cliffhanger. There's a lot taking place all at the same time, and I'm very interested to see how Sarah J Maas has set up the next book and see what kind of POVs that we're going to get from it. The next series that I'm in the middle of is the Maple Hills series by Hannah Grace. The first book in this series just came out late last year and it was called Icebreaker. This was a lot of fun. It was a lot spicier than I thought it was going to be. It was kind of just a peek into university life and a university relationship, which for me was a lot of fun, and it was somewhat nostalgic to just have that like community of found family and friendship. I think any of the reviews that I saw were wrong in the way that the book was described. The main plot point that I saw numerous times did not show up until later in the book series, and I think the best way to describe this book is just that it's a peek into a standard university relationship. They each are dealing with their own issues and have their own struggles that they're trying to overcome. These two people are kind of thrown together because there's an incident that happens at one of the ice rinks at the university, and the female main character is an ice skater and the male is on the hockey team, and they now have to share an ice rink, which is definitely part of the plot line, but they're thrown together in other situations as well, and it's just kind of them learning to work together and having their teams work together, and just overall the challenges of a relationship. It was a lot of fun. I'm very excited to read the next books in their series as they come out because I just loved everyone on the hockey team, and I just want to see their stories as well. 2 more series. I didn't think I was in the middle of that many series, but let me tell you, talking through them, it's a lot. The next series that I'm in the middle of, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. First of all, can we take a moment? These new covers are beautiful. I love them so much. Similar to the rest of the Sarah J Maas series that I've read, I'm buddy reading this with my friend Emily. I talk about her on and on. We are about halfway through Throne of Glass currently, and we started with The Assassin's Blade, which, just as an aside, if you don't read Assassin's Blade first, what are you doing? Going into Throne of Glass, within the first few sentences, I messaged Emily and because this is her reread and this is my first time reading it. And I sent her a message and I said, I'm so glad you said that we had to read The Assassin's Blade first, because there's so much in this book that you would not understand not having read The Assassin's Blade first. The Assassin's Blade really sets up the world and the stories and the characters that appear in this series or in this book. So read The Assassin's Blade first, but I'm very much enjoying this. It follows an assassin in sort of like a fantasy world. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a lot of fun, and what I like about Sarah J. Maas's series, although they all involve fae and they're fantasy books, each book is very different. Like, this is more of a fantasy mystery sort of, like, it's an assassin story. She's an assassin. Whereas Crescent City is an urban fantasy, and A Court of Thorns and Roses, for me, is more like a true fantasy. They're just all a lot of fun. And now for the last series that I'm in the middle of is the War of Lost Hearts series by Carissa Broadbent. I've only read the first book in this series, A Daughter of No Worlds, but it's very, very good. I am not 100% sure how to describe this series. I know for one thing, Carissa Broadbent is getting a lot of attention currently with her newer series, The Serpent of Wings and Night, I believe is what it's called. A Daughter of No Worlds is, again, sort of more of your traditional fantasy book, in my opinion. It's about this girl who has some magical abilities and is trying to free herself from her situation. She was purchased as a slave or plaything for one of the rulers of her land, and the story follows her freedom and her learning about her powers and the impending war. It's also a fantasy romance, and the romance is so good. I love both of the main characters in this story. It's just really good. I'm very excited to continue this series and also read more of Carissa Broadbent's work. With that being said, that is all of the series that I'm currently in the middle of. Let me know how many series that you are in the middle of, or if you're like how I used to be and read one series at a time. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!